What is the lowest level you can beat Pokemon Red and Blue with a Seadra? So we come into Lorelei at level 50. Of course, we're going to use the badge boost. If you're unaware of what that is every time you beat a gym leader, it increases a certain stat by 12.5%. Every time you use a stat boosting move, that badge boost stacks. So if I use it, twice, was that 25% boost I get, okay? So, and then it also works, as you'll notice, the Dugong, it would growl me. So even though my stat went down, the badge boost actually brings me up. So when these AIs or PCs or whatever you call them, when they use a stat move that looks like it would negatively affect me, most of the time it doesn't. So that was great to get a couple growls on me, and as well as the agilities. Seadra is going to be probably very good at this because it has agility from the get-go. Agility is a great move. I do go here and you'll see I mimic amnesia. Now why I do that is because I believe it's after the slow bro or maybe after the jinx. I'm going to level up. Every time you level up, that badge boost goes away. So you'd still get your agilities or amnesias if you use them that you had. So you'd still get that boost, but the boost you get from the badge will wipe away. So when doing a run like this to see what the lowest level you can beat the Elite Four at, you really got to manage your experience points. Now I did try this at some lower levels, but the Cloister was doing too much work with me on Clamp. It just would get me, and for some reason I could just never really get past him. So I am at level 50, but if you're watching this, you're probably like, well, that looks like a breeze. So there we go. So everything's washed. Lapras is more physically defensive. So it's not too big of a deal. Paralyzed, we don't love to see. But I do use an amnesia to get a little bit of boost back, and as you will see, I'm doing over half because its special isn't helping it out that much. I get through the confusion, I get through the paralysis, and there we go, beat Lorelei. So there we go. I'm going to ask you, what is the lowest level you can beat Pokemon Red and Blue using a Seadra? So we're going for the world record on all these, just so we know. So I think I already have 3 under my belt. This is going to be number 4. I'm also starting with the Pokemon that you probably never used, and I never used. Who used a Seadra? I mean, comment below if you use a Seadra, because you're one of a kind. But they're kind of fun, and I will say, so far, Seadra slaps. Seadra is kind of the GOAT, honestly. We're going to start with Mimic. We're going to get Harden. Harden's going to do 2 things for us. 1, Bruno is a physical attacker, so he pretty much can't touch us. And 2, we're getting a lot of badge boost, which is going to be great. I think another thing you might have noticed is I am now level 52 when I beat Lorelei at 51. That's because I used a rare candy, so I wouldn't level up during this fight because I didn't want to use all these Hardens and agilities just to level up and for the good stuff to go away. Yeah, so Bruno typically hasn't given us any trouble. I'm probably going to try to find someone that Bruno will give us trouble on because it's getting pretty mundane to just mimic Harden and see what happens. But so far, Seadra's cruising. Seadra's doing well. Agatha and Lance are typically the ones that give us a lot of trouble. But we can worry about that in another video. So here we go, Seadra. Let's see, can you do it? Yeah, Seadra's just one-shotting at this point. So there we go. I ask you, what is the lowest level you can beat Pokemon Red and Blue using a Seadra? We are on to Agatha. There's a lot of people on YouTube that do Pokemon solo runs, so I'm definitely not one of a kind. One of my favorites is JRose11. If you haven't seen him, you absolutely should. He is so methodical, intelligent, the way he breaks down the mechanics of the games. Honestly, it's poetic in a way. But he calls Agatha the Agatha Lottery, and I don't think that there's a better name for her. Because her moves seem to come out at random, and she switches her Pokemon, so it's almost like a 1 out of 5 shot, anything could happen. So you could either get really lucky or really unlucky. The real big threat for her is either putting me asleep, in which obviously I can't do anything, but then the Nightshade. I can only take about 3 Nightshades, if that, before I'm out. Also, Golbat has Haze, which would eliminate my stat changes, so my badge boost and all the moves I used for that would go away. So that is also very devastating. At a lower level, Agatha would be much more difficult because I wouldn't one-shot certain things and I wouldn't do the over half mark. that I would need to get through this relatively effortlessly. Now, everything can go well, but if the last Gengar decides to give me trouble, 2 Nightshades, and I'm out of there. And all that would take would be me being confused going into the battle, me being asleep. Any of these things that could easily happen would knock me out there. And look at this, it's a 3-shot to get rid of this Gengar. So if he would use something other than poison, it could have been really rough. I was cutting it very close on this one, but we did pull it out. So there's Agatha. So the question I'm going to ask is, what's the lowest level you can beat Pokemon Red or Blue using a Seadra? We are on to Lance. Now, Lance can be either the easiest one in the whole league, or he can be the most difficult. Now, I have Ice Beam, which is going to make the rest of everybody else super easy. But this Gyarados was proving to be pretty difficult. I tried quite a few times, and I could beat the Gyarados, but usually wouldn't leave me with enough to get through the rest of the crew. Even though these runs can, and pretty much do, heavily rely on luck, even though we are, going through mechanics and kind of abusing certain things that the developers put in there. I'm at 18 health and I go for an Ice Beam because I'm hoping for a freeze, and I believe it's like a 10% chance and I get it. So without that 10% chance, I would have just failed this run and I would have had to try again. Something you might not know about freeze is in Gen 1, once you're frozen, you either need to full restore or you need to get hit by a fire move. Otherwise, you're just frozen. And obviously, we don't have a fire move, and I believe he uses max potions, not full restores. So he's stuck like that. So I can kind of, if you see, I mimicked Hyper Beam in case I felt like I needed it. I kind of had time. I was at 18 HP, so I wasn't overly hopeful, but I did badge boost up, and I do have Ice Beam. So I'm like, let's give it a shot. So we're going through Ice Beam, Ice Beam. Those are 1-shots, no surprise there. Aerodactyl, are we going to 1-shot? We did. Very good. Dragonite, 2 times super effective. No doubt in my mind here. Boom. There we go. So I ask you, what is the lowest level you can beat Pokemon Red or Blue using a Seadra? We are on to Gary. Now, this definitely wasn't my first go at Gary. I tried a couple different strategies on what to do. The Pidgeot is not ideal to set up against, but if you will look at what's going on, I got very lucky that he didn't do any damage to me. Normally, he goes Sky Attack or Wing Attack, stuff that I can tank, but I don't want to. And then here I go for Mimic, and I grab Recover. I was thinking about Psychic, but there's really nothing that Psychic is needed for that I can't already cover. So I use Recover because I know I'm going into a Blastoise at the end, and I don't know how much damage I'm going to be doing to it, even if I'm badge boosted. Again, badge boost is every time that you beat a gym leader, your stats get boosted by 12.5%. Every time you use a stat boosting move, that badge boost stacks onto it. So Alakazam's using Recover, which is pretty frustrating. I go to Surf because I need that stab because I have to be doing over half if I'm going to win. Luckily, I get a Reflect there, and then the Surf is going to take him out. If you have a Pokemon that you want me to do, comment it down below, and I'll absolutely get it done as long as it's a halfway decent one. Right on, no big deal. I could have mimicked Horn Drill. I did try Horn Drill, but I just like the Recover strat better. It's more consistent and more reliable. Surf on the RK9, no big deal. I did level up, which isn't great for my badge boost. I go for Ice Beam here. Executor can use Hypnosis, which would be rough. His other moves aren't very good, but it would do enough chip damage where it would put me in range to be knocked out from potentially Blastoise, but that's why I have Recover also. So Recover up, and at this point, there's nothing Blastoise can do to me that is going to end me that Recover can't take care of. But what can happen is I can freeze him, which is great, and I'm glad I did that. So you're going to be sitting here waiting for a little while. I believe he will not use any of his water moves, so he will be using Bite or Skull Bash because he has the good AI. So this is pretty free. That's a world record. There we go. So if anybody thinks you can beat me, but the question I will ask you is,